Welcome back for another episode of Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition. I am your host, Kristen Goss. I am the founder and owner of KWG, Family Legal and Mediation Services. And today I have two of my biggest cheerleaders, two of my biggest friends, my colleagues, Tammy Burman and also Bianca Moreras. I'm going to read a little bit of their bios, but we're going to get into some good conversation today. So listen up. So Bianca Moreras, she has been a leader, mentor, motivator, and presenter in the legal profession for over 40 years.
I know I look great. Thank you.
Yeah. Not a day older than 25. Her role as administrator, executive director, marketing director, coach, and consultant brings a wealth of knowledge and practical application to any firm, group, and individual. I know this personally because she has coached me, and her specialty are lawyers and law firms, but she coaches throughout all professions, and I know a lot of you out there are business entrepreneurs, so she is a wealth of knowledge. And next, we have my great friend Tammy Burman, also known as, or AKA, Tammy Steckler. She is a highly regarded licensed mental health therapist with over 2 decades of experience in supporting individuals and families through complex life transitions. So whether it's a divorce, she brings a blend of expertise, empathy, and effective communication strategies to her work, guiding clients toward positive resolutions that prioritize well-being and long-term stability, not disability. Tammy's extensive training is also in dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, and cognitive behavioral therapy. So I oftentimes am wondering if she's analyzing my behavior sometimes. But welcome to the stage, Bianca and Tammy.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
So nice to be here.
All right. Yeah. So let's get into it. I'll start with you, Bianca. Sure. So you are a coach. You're also a consultant. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up in doing what you do.
All right. Well, thank you for that question, Kristen. Mm-hmm. Well, I've been in legal space for 40 years, and I've always had an aptitude for taking people to levels that they've never thought were attainable. I've pursued that after cutting my teeth in the law firm space for over 20 years. And then finally, I said, I have made so much darn money for these attorneys. It's time to keep some in my pocket. And I journeyed on my own, and my first company was called Admin 911. How appropriate. Mm-hmm. Everyone needs help. And I started my business, and I've never looked back. This year, I celebrated my 21st year in helping people get to where they need to go. And that could be through processes, procedures, systems, or just good old rainmaking and taking care of your employees. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I know you could feel it, see it. And I'm just so happy to be here and happy I met you just at the beginning before the pandemic started. Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
5 years already. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had 2 babies, not 3. I don't know how that happened.
I know.
But I do know. But that's another story for another day. Tammy.
Yeah.
So you are a mental health therapist and you have your own practice.
Yes.
You've been on your own for some time.
For a long time.
So tell the audience a little bit about what it is that you do, the services you provide as a therapist.
So as a licensed mental health counselor, I've grown into a group practice, but my specialty and interest is, like you said, dialectical behavior therapy. I love working with teens. I love working in the collaborative world and anything around helping people through the divorce process. How I got there, it's a long journey into private practice and then into group practice. I started my career working in community mental health, just wanting to get as much experience as I could and learn and also have a check, like a regular paycheck. Mm-hmm. So that was like the first place that I went to. But I soon found I really needed some better mentorship and support in developing my skills. So I got hooked up with a psychologist, Dr. Bill Penzer, who became a mentor for me in private practice. And that was early. That was 2004. That was a year into me working in the field. So he started to mentor me and provide me with cases, and I learned about the business of private practice and the quality of clinical care in private practice. So when I had my first son, I thought I would be able to go back to work and do what all Americans do, because I'm a Canadian first, and we have like a year worth of maternity leave, and this was a 3-month experience, and everyone was like, "You're not coming back," and I was like, "Yes, I will." So I tried to come back, and that didn't work out so well because it was really challenging to be away from my son. And the nanny that I had found did not work out so well either. So that like compounded the stress of being away from my son. So I kind of made a move into private practice, and it was just like a slow journey in learning about how to do the business of private practice. And I'm just one that's like a forever learner and pursuing things that feel right and fit with my interest, and I'll just keep going and wanting to learn whatever it is. So DBT was one of them. Dialectical behavior therapy was given to me in my very first job, as I was offered the opportunity to be trained at the highest level, and I had no idea what it was, but I loved to learn, and I loved DBT. So I continued to that just kind of flourished and grew in private practice, and then the teenage thing that my second job was in community mental health, working exclusively with teens. So I then discovered that I love working with teenagers because they're awesome, and they're not easy, but I love that time of life, and I love just working with teens. So and then one year, 2009, I started marketing myself to family law attorneys. As I was growing my private practice, every year I had a new marketing objective, and that year it was family law attorneys, because who else needs therapy but people going through family law stuff? So this one attorney, Iris Bass, she reached out to me months after getting a letter that I had wrote her, and spent an hour and a half of her time on the phone talking to me about the collaborative process. And that was amazing to me. I'm a kid of a really bad divorce, and everything that I learned about the collaborative process in that phone call was it just was I don't know, there was sparks happening for me and excitement, and wow, this could be something so amazing for families, and could have protected my parents and just changed the course of everything had we had this kind of a process. So that started me into the whole journey of meeting people like you in the collaborative process, family law attorneys, and it's really because of the collaborative process that I realized I needed to have competency and specialization in all kinds of stuff around divorce, because that's like a vortex for people.
Yeah.
So that's my story of how we come to be together today.
Thank you for sharing. I do have a quick question. You mentioned DBT.
Yeah.
For those of you out there who don't know, can you share a little bit of backstory of what that is?
What it is?
Yeah.
So dialectical behavior therapy was developed by this woman, Marsha Linehan. And if you have any interest after this podcast, she wrote a memoir that's one of the best books I've ever read, called Building a Life Worth Living. And she has a crazy backstory. But so it's an evidence-based therapeutic approach that was initially designed to help people living in hell. And the operational definition for people living in hell were people that were revolving in and out of the psych units, that were self-harming, that were chronically suicidal, and the demographic was a high incidence of borderline personality disorder. And so that was her target of who to help on getting out of hell. And she did a long journey of research to figure out a protocol to help these people that were living in hell, as well as a ton of research on the outcome of the protocol she was using. So the research behind DBT is amazing, and people around the world, psychologists, mental health practitioners around the world have done their own research to see the outcome, whether the outcome data is as strong wherever they are using DBT. And it is that's what makes DBT such a big deal, is that it's the only known, as far as I know, Now, like, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, it's the only known therapeutic approach to effectively cure borderline personality disorder, and cure meaning that at the end of their protocol, they're not showing any more, like, not enough symptoms to qualify for the diagnosis. So cure. But over the years, DBT's been applied to so many other things. It's awesome for teenagers. There's really good outcome data for eating disorders, for substance abuse, for some mood disorders. So people like myself that were working in private practice I started using it with all kinds of different cases just because I love DBT. I've even taught it to mediators, like as a, teach some of the DBT skills of DBT. So it's awesome. It's comprehensive. Just one last thing about it. There's 4 main treatment delivery components of DBT: individual therapy, skills group, phone coaching, and then ancillary support, which is like working with whatever the support system is to help address any issues with how they're helping or hurting the client. So it's a comprehensive treatment approach. Not everybody needs all the pieces, but all those pieces are absolutely needed for someone with a true diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. Wow. So that's that story. It's a lot.
You learn something every day. That's for sure. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Tammy mentioned the collaborative process, and one of the reasons why I started this podcast, as most of you know who have been following me, by the way, if you haven't, please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you very much. But it was to spread the word about the collaborative process as an alternative. Most people, when they're thinking about a divorce or paternity or any type of family law issue, I have to file in court. That's not the only option. Collaborative is an alternative. And Bianca, who is, I would say, on the outside looking in, Tammy and I know each other through the collaborative process, and we work a lot together in that industry. But you working with lawyers in general, now knowing of the collaborative process, do you have any insight or any feedback that you can provide based on what you know from speaking with me and Tammy?
Thank you for that question. Well, first I'm going to take you to a place where we explored many, many things, and I learned about the collaborative process at that time. During the pandemic, as you know, folks, we were all pent up in our homes. We didn't know if we liked the people we lived with. We didn't know if we needed to escape. A lot of divorce processes happened. Yeah. And in speaking with Kristen, and she was just at the tip of that collaborative practice with some other groups of women, I started a Zoominar program for attorneys where I would interview them and speak to the validity of their practice to keep their practice going, because attorneys were still practicing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we came up with a program with a group of women that was called Should I Stay or Should I Go? Which had, that music of, should I stay or should I go? Had to do awesome. With divorce in general. And we layered it with traditional divorce, collaborative divorce, should I get divorced, and then the financial and mental health issues that came with it. And we had a huge hit. We were going strong for 6 months, 7 months, or something along that way. And I actually took other attorneys through that process. Well, what I found fascinating with the collaborative was if you communicated properly with your spouse, whether you like them or not, you are perfect for collaborative.
Huh.
Because you can't say you fall completely out of love with someone. And if you want them not to be hurt, if you want it to be a good breakup, should I stay or should I go? Then you just have to sit at the table. And while we were sitting at the table on our Zoominars at our own tables, and we look like the Hollywood squares always, we talked about that. How if we would just open our minds and allow each other to have your understanding and your opinion without being judgmental, you can get through the collaborative process. So I think it's phenomenal. Fast forward, these two young ladies, myself and a gentleman, yes, we did put a gentleman in the room who did finance. We actually did a program that had to do with learning more about collaborative. And it was wonderful. Other things got in the way, so we really didn't take off 100%, but it was at the tip of the pandemic, so we were still doing it on, Zoom. Lots of fun. Bringing people together to discuss alternatives is the most important thing. Just the way I gave birth to Zoominars on February 17th, which is coming right now, St. Patty's Day, right? When the pandemic shut down, and said, oh my gosh, how could I help my attorneys? And here I was launching for 3.5, 4 years this process. Thus the birth of the True Podcast. So proud of you, girlfriend. And just bringing this to life. And if you're not watching this young lady, you need to watch her because she's giving you free information on making an unbelievable decision. Should I stay or should I go? Back to you.
To bring you back for a song solo. So, Tammy, you are an accredited collaborative professional.
Yes.
Do you want, I know you talked a little bit about your journey and your backstory. Do you want to share anything else about the process of collaborative? And I know when you told me your original story of how you got a call from Iris.
Yeah.
It blew you away because you're like, wow, attorneys are actually nice. You were really traumatized.
Yeah.
Because of your personal experience growing up.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people can relate to you, whether they're a child of a divorce, minor.
That was my experience, yeah.
Or they're an adult and they still recall, or they're going through it currently with, their parents who are going through a divorce. So is there anything else that you want to add about your accreditation and about the experience as a professional in the collaborative process?
Well, I guess I'll piggyback on that commentary because that's a good place to answer the question about that phone call. I started to have a panic attack basically during the phone call. This nice, she was so nice. But my heart started thumping out of my chest. And it took me years to figure out, literally only a few years ago I've talked about this story so many times, but, it just clicked. Why did I have that response? And I realized that was the first family law attorney I had talked to since I was 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I was 4, remember being in my mom's, my mom took her to her attorney. And so whatever. But last feeling memories was a family law attorney had ripped my family apart, and the experience my parents had was horrific. So anyways, on this phone call, it's an hour and a half of her time, and Iris was the most pleasant, kind, informative, supportive person on that phone call. Something different than I'd ever imagined in my mind or expected from a family law attorney. So she was like, you should talk to a mental health person who does this work and get her perspective of what collaborative is. So she hooked me up with another professional, Elizabeth Stabinski, who was very active at the time that I was introduced to collaborative. And she gave me some of her input and was like, you should come to a general meeting, a collaborative practice group meeting, to just see what it's like get a further exposure. And honestly, I was that enthusiasm and excitement and curiosity of what this potential of what this could be and what I imagined it to be based on what I heard from Iris. I just wanted to continue to pursue and learn and see. And every step of the way in, all the professionals that I met, the attorneys that I met are unlike any attorney or professional I've ever met. I so love the people. Their heart is in the right place. Their value system is in the right place, and it's such a pleasure. It's just an awesome experience to work with professionals like that. So that continued to kind of draw me in more and more. I just wanted to be a part of that that experience. I found people that I love to work with. Also, as a mental health person, all we see is one client to the next client to the next client, potentially 8 hours a day or six hours a day, somewhere around there. We never get to interact with professionals unless we get active in some other way. But this was an amazing experience because we were working collaboratively, like that needing and relying on each other's expertise and working together for a common goal is an amazing experience as a professional. When I went to the Broward practice group, as I continued to show up and go, Dr. Randy Heller was active there, and she had talked to me and she was like, we're coming up with an accredited collaborative designation, and you're going to need to be a certified family mediator. You're going to need to have your parenting coordination case or class. So she was like planting those seeds for me. Like, if you want this is what you need to have. It's not in place yet, but I was like, that just became part of my to-do list. Like, I was like, okay, like I'm just going to keep going. What I have learned along the journey for professionals is that, when I try to talk to people about collaborative, because I'm so enthusiastic and I want everybody to learn about it. You don't have to be a professional in it, but you should know so you can help other people know this is out there and available. But for those that want to be in it, you have to really want to promote and pursue this process just for that reason, to last and succeed in the collaborative process, because I did not get paid on my first case till I was like 7 years in. And I didn't really care. Like, I cared. By that point, I was like, come on, guys. Like, why am I not getting hired? What's wrong with me? But I didn't, on the other hand, I kept going still because I believe in the process, and I just wanted to keep being a part of something that I believed in. So that's just another addition of so being an accredited collaborative professional for a mental health person, it's different for an attorney than it is for a financial. We have a little bit different requirements. For mental health, we need the Supreme Court Certified Family Mediator course. I think we have to get the certification, parenting coordination, and 5 successful cases. So that's how you become in my field. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch it over a little bit with the topic. Another reason why I wanted this podcast to, spread the word not only about collaborative, but also to ensure that people have a good estate plan in place. For most people out there, these two know my story, but I'll share my story. I went through 2 years of probate litigation when my father passed away in 2014. Prior to that, a guardianship was opened prior to his passing. And so I don't want anyone to have to go through that. No family should have to go through probate. No family should have to go through guardianship. And as an estate planning attorney, I ensure that things are airtight, whether it's a will, a trust. Everybody needs different documents, but ensuring that, number one, people feel comfortable about talking about a topic that's not sexy to talk about, but it's necessary and it brings peace of mind. And it can allow you to relax and enjoy your life and enjoy those that you love, because you're creating a legacy for yourself and those you love most. So transitioning a little bit into the estate planning side, Bianca, I know that you recently lost your husband, and my condolences for that. I can't imagine, losing a spouse, and you lost him so rapidly to ALS. So I would like for you to share with the audience your experience, because you did have an estate plan in place. So how was that, having a plan in place versus not, with what you went through with your husband?
Thank you for your condolences, and thank you for allowing me not only to bring the sanity of having a trust, and we have a revocable trust, the ability to make people aware of ALS and how it is rapidly infiltrating gentlemen 60 and older. It is incredible the numbers that are out there right now. When it was 1 in a million, now it's like 1 in 1,000. So that's crazy stuff, people. And there's no cure. It's a death sentence as soon as you have that diagnosis. So I'll talk about November 2022. Every year I would have the conversation, honey, we are not rich. We are not poor. We have 2 children. You have 2 children from a previous marriage. And we need to make everything sound and secure. So we did at that time, we sat with our estate planning attorney. It was not Kristen, but she knows this attorney, very good attorney in the field as well. And the reason why he said yes and why we used her is because we went to a gala and she offered her estate planning, her trust planning for a couple. The opening bid was $1,600, which is unheard of. So I took the opening bid and nobody else took it. And I got it. And that's how we were able. And that's worth about $4,000 for a couple or higher. So that was the beginning of the story. Cheap husband, may he rest in peace. I love him to death. But he did not want to do it because of the money. And I will have to tell you, number one, because in our family, we already had someone his brother was in a permanent vegetated state. He did not pass for 23 years.
Whoa.
And that was like the ruination of the family to watch someone, on full support and still alive. So one of the things that we did do is put in place our wishes if there was a terminal illness. And with that being said, that was already the writing on the wall for a terminal illness, because you're not going to do anything to stop, to continue life. Okay, so I'll start there. With that trust, you have to have life insurance. People that don't have life insurance are out of their mind, because if you're self-funded at some point and you own everything and you don't owe anything, that's different. But if you still owe money, or you have children going to college or whatnot, what happens in the case if your spouse passes away? So let me give you a little insight. On September 25th, 2023, my husband and I were at a birthday party dancing. On October 16th, he could hardly walk.
Wow.
We knew something was wrong. He kept complaining about his feet. His head kept dropping. I said to him, this is not good. It was that quick. Men do not go to the doctor. Men go to the freaking doctor.
Oh my God.
Annual checkups are so important. When I finally got him to the doctor, which he hadn't gone for 11 years, every year, made the appointment, every year he canceled it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. They diagnosed him with diabetes. What? His AC was 10. It's supposed to be 6.4 or less. And his sugar was 210, fasting. They immediately put him on all kinds of products, and they said everything that was happening had to do with that. Well, not even a week later, he couldn't use his right hand at all. And we had to run to the bank to have me sign all documents for his business, because we had fraud on the account, and he reopened the accounts without me on them. And he swears he told me about it, but we ran there. And thank goodness we were able to sign the documents. I had to hold my husband's hand with the pen to sign his name. And of course, from that point forward, he never signed another check or any document from that day forward. Fast forward, I knew it was ALS because of the continuing progression of muscle loss. And I tried to get every doctor to look at him. Finally, they did. Fast forward again, from confirmed diagnosis with University of Miami, to death was 2 months. 2 months.
Wow.
He was sick for a total of 6 months.
Wow.
So to have a very virile electrical contractor working in the field for over 40 years, dance with me in September, can't hold a cup or pen in October, could not walk and in a wheelchair in January. This is because he did not go to the doctor. ALS would have been a death sentence no matter what, and that we could never stop. However, we could have been taking precaution. November 22, we got our revocable trust. I was like, yay! I was dancing. I felt so good. I felt so safe. Let me tell you what else it did for us. As he passed in the hospital and he made his own destiny because we did nothing to prevent him continuing life. And by the way, he went into the hospital for water poisoning. He could not eat enough food. His swallowing started to be affected. We had just made a decision to get him a feeding tube, not to sustain life, but to not have him just perish from starvation.
Right.
That day, that evening that he woke up in a cold sweat, soaked the bed from this poisoning that he had. That day, I had just talked to them about coming in on Monday to get the feeding tube. We ended up in the hospital for more than 23 days, and he actually chose his departure. And the doctors, because of it being a fatal disease, as a matter of fact, it's the only disease that you are granted full disability by Social Security within 2 months.
Wow.
He missed that by 1 day.
Wow.
Anyway, the hospital bill was almost $400,000, covered by insurance mostly. But because we had a trust and everything was in that trust, we did not have to pay another penny on anything that we owed because your money's protected.
Wow.
From creditors, from bankruptcy, from even your children doing something wrong, anything. You have no idea the sanity that gave to me after an incredible journey of caretaking. You know, everything from bathing and bathroom and 24/7, plus working, keeping the business going, keeping my business going. It was a lot. And keeping 2 children, that there'll always be children, but young men in their 20s devastated by having to see their dad deteriorate before their eyes. So people, men, number 1, go to the doctor. Number 2, families, especially special needs that you have to take care of your children forever. Go call this young lady here. She's so kind, so gentle. She is not going to push you into anything. And that's the thing with the trust. What you have is what you have, and what could be protected. There's no hidden agenda here. And also remember, when your children turn 18 years old, they need to give you a power of attorney. Because if something like a car accident or just anything happens to them, you cannot speak for them. You may think you could speak for them, but you cannot speak for them. And there's just so many things. And putting your health surrogacy into place as well. The hospitals fought me on a non-resuscitate. They fought me on everything. And they have their own rules. My attorney was on the phone with me and the hospital daily, even though we had all our paperwork in place.
Wow.
So you can imagine if you didn't have that paperwork in place,
Right.
what you would have gone through.
Yeah.
So don't walk, run, and call Kristen Goss.
Wow.
And that's my story. And as far as ALS goes, when they had that ALS challenge with the ice water, bucket water.
Oh, yeah.
That raised quite a bit of money. But we are right now, and no political preference here. A bill just came out that they want to cut funding to ALS because they know there's no cure, so why the hell do anything about it? Well, guess what, people? If you are currently feeling bad, you're having trouble breathing, you notice you don't have the same strength you used to, your head drops when you walk, your feet hurt, and you have no idea why, you need to figure out what's going on. And it strikes men more than women. And it's something that they have no idea, because we had a gene test and it did not come out positive. So thank goodness, because now the kids are okay. However, after speaking to a doctor that works with environment and chemicals and things of that nature, after talking to him about everything my husband worked with over the years of his life, he does feel that there was some chemical, inducement along the way between, melanoma, things of that nature, from asbestos, from paint, from lead, and that's all in that construction industry. So you need to be, careful. We have no reason why. But life is for the living, I'm happy to say, and we have our legacies that we carry on. And what do you want to be remembered for? I want everyone to know that take care of people while you're here. Love the ones you're with. Don't forget to say I love you every single day. Be tender and gentle. And you don't want to look back on the regrets that you may have with fighting or arguing over stupid things when, as you know, life could be taken away in an instant. So sorry for the Debbie Downer. I'm not a Debbie Downer, but it's important for people to have their wills, their trusts, not go to probate, and to be financially sound in a situation like this. So any situation like this.
Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love you.
Love you too, honey.
So we're going to kind of pep it up a little bit.
I was pepped up, but in a sad way.
We're going to talk a little bit about family mediation. Okay. And I know that you mentioned you're a certified family mediator. Yeah. And with the collaborative process, right? So we have mediation in litigated cases in the collaborative process. Is there a difference when you're mediating a litigated case versus in the collaborative process? Just curious.
Well, I've never mediated a collaborative process, and I've never had a mediator. Thank goodness so far, but it is what it is, and it's a tool of the process. I've never had a mediator in a collaborative process that I've been a facilitator on, so I haven't seen that play out.
Okay.
But I've been a mediator for pro se, not even litigants, actually, not even people that had filed yet, and I've been a mediator for pro se that have filed, and then I've been a mediator for clients that, I don't even know that they filed or not with attorneys. Like, you had asked me, about litigated divorces, and I said, what's a litigated? What do you mean? Have I mediated a litigated divorce? What's a litigated divorce? And you said, well, that's that they filed in the courts. So I honestly don't even know the cases that I've mediated with attorneys, whether it was yet filed or not, but perhaps, of course it was. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But what would you like to know about that? Like my experience of the difference?
Yeah.
So my preference is to work with people that are not high conflict. Not high conflict. I am a parenting coordinator, and often the cases that come to me or to anybody in a parenting coordination role have escalated to a point where you would consider it a high conflict case. There's a rare occasion where it's not as high conflict, but my preference is not high conflict, and I've mediated a total of 12 to 15 cases, whereas I've been a facilitator on 38 cases now. So my experience is, you know what, it's probably more manageable with clients pro se than with attorneys in terms of being more organic and being more, just being able to have conversation. Bless you.
Bless you.
Being able to have, it's okay. Being able to have more conversation like that, like practical conversation, and being able to organically lead to from one topic to another topic. Bless you.
I'm trying not to sneeze.
That's okay. So that's nice because then you're able to really meet clients where they're at. And you're not missing anything necessarily because you can ask any question and they're going to provide you unscripted guidance. Like they're going to provide you what their concerns are as it is. Whereas with attorneys, they've already been coached. They have already been given some guidance. And it's not to say it's not as productive, or it's just not as an organic conversation. So so it's a bit more of a dance following a mix of the lead of the attorneys who are their guides through a process. I don't really have a perspective as to if there's, pros and cons from a mediator standpoint, like advice to mediators, what's better. I think a mediator is a mediator. I can only give you perspective if you wanted to compare and contrast from the experience of a client as a therapist working with clients that have gone through mediation versus collaborative versus highly contested divorce. And it's just a perfect, like, down the line, the worst emotional experience that clients go through is highly contested divorce, and mediation is second in line because often there's not only buyer's remorse but fallout, like they're so missing information, the infrastructure, the supportive infrastructure of like being well informed and how do you do this, for like just kind of being lost.
Yeah.
And then things turning out not as they expected because they didn't have the proper information, like guidance going through whatever decision-making process they went through. And then in collaborative, it's completely different. Like that is the most ideal scenario from an emotional standpoint because they're well-informed as they can be every step of the way through a process, and very much an integral and primary decision maker. They're making decisions with their co-parent or spouse, and that co-parent or spouse may have very different interests, but they're going to get the best possible outcome of being empowered and being the leader of their process in a collaborative process than they would in mediation or litigation. They have no idea what's going on, and they often are like, they're so lost. They don't, because they are not getting good communication from their own attorney, or like, and not understanding what step they're in, what to expect. And even those that are, if it's highly contested, it's horrendous. It's just horrendous. So that would be my input for you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's great feedback. So as we come to a close, I want to ask both of you this question. Tammy, do you have any upcoming projects coming up, and where can the audience find you for more information if they want to look you up or, schedule a consultation?
Okay. Well, thank you for asking. So I'm the current president of the Collaborative Family Law Professionals of South Florida. So it's not my own business, but obviously very invested and interested in promoting collaborative. And we are hosting an upcoming in-person training for any professional, as well as allied professional, who wants to learn about the process and then become an allied or integral part of the process to help people go through divorce, or actually other litigated processes can use collaborative too, and you'll see that spread over time, I really hope. So we're hosting that April 10th and 11th in Broward County in Plantation, Florida. You can go to the Collaborative Family Law Professionals of South Florida website to learn about that. For my own practice, we do DBT skills groups throughout the year. And if you have any interest or have, if you want to learn anything about, if it sounds interesting to you or you know somebody that may benefit from DBT, certainly reach out to my practice. We run and have all the components of an adherent DBT model. And we can certainly be a resource to you just to gather information, to looking if we're not the right fit, to help you find the right fit of a practitioner support. And you can reach me at my website, www.mycounselingconnections with an S at the end.com, or call our main number 954-477-7455. And that's, And you can always schedule a consult with me if you want to talk about collaborative services I offer, anything like that.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. So reach out if you need her services. And Bianca, any upcoming projects with you?
Well, thank you for asking again. I will tell you, and it's right around the corner, in a week on the 8th of March, I collaborate, like that word, I collaborate with a young lady called Angela Marie, and we run a program called the PI Summit. We'll be hosting that in Orlando, Florida at the the Citrus Club. And I'm one of the speakers. I'm always one of the speakers. I bring a lot of dynamics and energy, usually doing the keynote or opening speech, and get everybody really rocking and rolling. It's made up of doctors and attorneys, and it's very, very exciting. I want you to mark your calendars for May 30th, I believe, is going to be held at the Tower Club in Fort Lauderdale. So you didn't miss it. If you want to be there,
May 30th.
It's good for everyone, and the networking components of it are fantastic. That is really what I'm doing. I also, just so you know, I run a program every year called Fear versus Faith, and it's based on a faith-based program. However, it is this year on the 12th of April at St. Bonaventure's Catholic Church, and it is good for anyone 18 and older, men and women. You will walk away at least not being afraid of things, which is huge for most people. Yes? Okay. And you can find me at www.Bianca Moreras. I'll spell it BIANCAMOREIRAS, like in Sam.com. And there you will find all my information. You can get in touch with me by email, phone. I'm always happy to talk to anyone. I do a variety of things. You'll be shocked, surprised, and excited. And that's how you can find me.
Awesome. I appreciate both of you for joining me. Phenomenal conversations. And I don't know, last minute input.
So nice
that's
to
it.
be here. Nice to sit with you and talk with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank-
you. I love
thank you so
seeing
much.
these ladies.
Yes.
There's 3 powerful women sitting at this table, but we are kind, we are gentle, and we are hardworking. So it's like talking to your mom, and we all know how moms are. So have a blessed weekend, and thank you again for having us.
Thank you. So that was another episode of Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition. Again, I'm Kristen Goss, your host, founder and owner of KWG Family Legal and Mediation Services. We are your knowledgeable, warm, and gracious attorneys. Tune in next time, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.